Well, hello, this is Mrs. Robertson, and today we're first going to go over our arithmetic quiz and make sure we know how to get the problems all correct, and then we're going to go over some bell work, and then we're going to talk about some graphs and what a statistical question is. So that's our plan for today. So, on the arithmetic quiz, the first thing we need to do, some of you subtracted. Now this was an adding problem. I think maybe the plus sign might have been cut off on a couple of yours, but I think that when I looked at your test, you could tell that it should have been or the quiz, a plus sign. So on this, when you add 5 plus 9 is 14, carry a 1, that's 10, plus 9 is 19, carry a 1, 5 plus 8 is 13, carry a 1, and you have 9,394. In the next problem, we are subtracting with a lot of zeros. Borrow from the 9, it turns into an 8 that turns into a 10. Borrow from the 10, it turns into a 9 that turns into a 10. Borrow from the 10, it turns into a 9. We finally get the 10 where we need it. 10 minus 8 is 2, 9 minus 3 is 6, 9 minus 7 is 2, and 8 minus 2 is 6. 6,262. Any questions? Now, I recommend that you go back and watch this video when I post it before you do your next arithmetic quiz to make sure you know how to do every problem. All right, multiplying. 7 times 2 is 14. Put down a 4, carry a 1. 7 times 6 is 42. Plus 1 is 43. Put down a 3, carry a 4. 7 times 4 is 28. Plus 4 is 32. Now, we're going to multiply by a 5, but there's one number behind it. So you put down a place value 0. Now, if there would have been two numbers, you'd put two place value zeros, but there's just one. 5 times 2 is 10. Put down a 0, carry a 1. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1 is 31. Put down a 1, carry a 3. 5 times 4 is 20, plus 3 is 23. Add them together. 26,334. Now, if you miss these, fix them. And don't just write down the right answer. Show what you need to do to get the right answer. Any questions on those first three? Good. The next problem, multiplying by a larger number. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 7 is 42. Put down a 2, carry a 4. 6 times 5 is 30. Plus 4 is 34. I don't need to multiply by the 0, but I do need to multiply by the 3. How many numbers are behind the 3? 2. So you put down 2 place value zeros. I put X's in them so you know they're place value zeros. Now multiply. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 7 is 21. Put down a 1, carry a 2. 3 times 5 is 15. Plus 2 is 17. Add them together. 6. 2, 7, 4, and you have 174,726. Any questions on that? All right, now we're dividing. No decimals, so I don't have to do it till the very end. How many 56s are in a 1? None. In a 15, none. In a 156, 2. 2, and I put the 2 above the 6 because that's the last digit I'm using. 2 times 6 is 12, carry a 1. 2 times 5 is 10, plus 1 is 11. Subtract. 44 is smaller than 56, so we're in good shape. Bring down. How many 56s are in a 448? Well, I think, how many 5s are in a 44? There would be 8. So 5 times 8 is 40. Let's see, 56 times 8, 48. You get 448. And that's great. The answer is 28. Any questions? Okay. In this problem, you put your decimal point straight up. Yes. How many 4s are in an 8? 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract. Bring down. Now look what happens here. You subtracted and you brought down. How many 4s are in a 0, 2? None. So you put a 0 above the 2 you brought down. 4 times 0 is 0. Subtract and now bring down. 4 goes into 24 6 times. I think on this class I messed up on grading, and some of you, I write the word okay because the answer is $2.06, and I think I counted them wrong, and then I realized I made a mistake in that. So if you had $2.06, it should have this thing that says like okay written there and a check mark, so I didn't count it wrong. I just want you to know that, okay? Now, there will be more than one question on multiplying and dividing fractions. That's the big 6th grade standard, okay, kids? This is what you do. You have to change them to improper fractions. You have to multiply 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8/3. Does everyone know how to change a mixed number to an improper fraction? Give me a thumbs up if you do. All right, Salwell, you do not know how to change a fraction to an improper fraction? Your thumb was not up. Do you know how? All right, what you do, and you're not the only one, you start with the denominator. 3, and you multiply times the whole number. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 2 is 8. That's how you get 8/3. When multiplying and dividing, you have to do that. Times 6/5. Now, if you don't know how to simplify before you multiply straight across. If you did that, you would get 48/15. That's an improper fraction. If it's multiple choice, the answer is not going to be there. Okay? I like to simplify before I multiply. 3 will divide 3 once, and 3 divides 6 twice. And you end up with 16/5. Now, it's much easier to work with 16/5 than 48/15. How many 5s are in a 16? 3. That's 15. How many's left over? 1. The answer is 3 1/5. Now, if you have 48/15, you say how many 15s are in a 48? 3. How many's left over? 3/15. Now, on some questions, you don't have to simplify, but on the multiple choice ones, you'll need to make sure you can find your matching answer, okay? When you add fractions, you have to have the same denominator, right, kids? And that was nice about this one. They already had the same denominator. So you add the numerators. 6/8 plus 3/8 is 9/8. Do you add the denominators? No. And 9/8 equals 1 1/8. That should have been an easy one to get right. Any questions? What do you do when you divide fractions? Yes. You're going to keep the first fraction the way it is, change the sign to multiplying, and flip this one. Now, we don't have to change them to improper fractions, do we? No. All right. Now, I like to simplify before I multiply. 2 divides 2 once, 2 divides 4 2 times, 3 times 1 is 3, and that equals 1 1/2. Any questions? What do I have to do in number 10, Carter, before I can add these? Not simplify. Since we're adding fractions, what do I have to have before I can add them? Same denominator. What's my common denominator between a 3 and a 6? Yes. Olivia. 6. Right. This one gets to stay. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 2 gives me the top number of 4. Does everyone see how to do that? Okay, you need to close your computers because we're not using computers right now. Now we can add. 4 6 plus 1 6 is how many 6s, Quinn? 5 6. And we can't forget our whole number 1. 1 5 6. Any questions? All right. This is a help problem. You have 4 minus 1 1/3. What does 4 have to do?
It
Yes.
has to turn
It changes its name to 3 3/3. Now, a lot of you get the 3/3 part. 3/3 minus 1/3 is 2/3. Do you know where you mess up? Instead of putting 2 2/3, you put 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. I was so tired of seeing the answer 3 2/3 instead of 2 2/3. Any questions? Number 12. I'm going to simplify before I multiply, and you can simplify from top to bottom. Simplify instead of, okay. 5 divides 5 once. 5 divides 10 twice. Is there something that can divide a 6 and an 8? 2. They're both even. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Now I multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. 3 eighths. Now, how many of you, if I gave you this exact same one, could get the front page right? You really understand how to do these much better. Quinn, what do you still not understand? Okay, I just couldn't see it. All right. Are they that hard? No. We just need to practice them more, where our brain just automatically knows what to do. Okay, now let's go to the back page. 4 times 1,000 is 4,000, and 3 times 100 is 300. That's pretty easy. 4,300. Everybody good at that? Yeah. Now, 8 times 10 is 80. 5 times a tenth is 5/10. Another name for that is, you could say 80 plus 0.5. There are several answers for this one. I would accept 80 and 5/10. What's another name for 5/10? 80 and 1/2. And if you wrote it as a decimal, what's the answer as a decimal? 80.5. 0.5 is the same thing as 1/2. So sometimes they'll say circle all that apply or click all that apply. There might be more than one answer. Do you know how to do that now? I know you are. Okay, in this one, you line your decimal points up. The 6 will go under there. The answer to 12, carry a 1, 1 and 22/100. Most of you did a really good job on that question. Same thing here. Line your decimal points up. The point goes behind the 7 whole dollars. Think of it like that. 3.6, 7, and 0.85. Add them together. 14, carry a 1, and you have 11 and 45/100. Any questions? Don't you feel like, man, I wish Mrs. Robertson would give this to me now. I could get a really good grade on this. I know that you kids are doing a good job. You can do much better. Number 17, 0 and 91/100 minus 0 and 3/10. Notice how the 3 is under the 9. Some of you just were careless in where you put it. Empty spots with zeros. 1 minus 0 is 1. 9 minus 3 is 6. And you have 61/100. Any questions? All right. In this one, think of it as $6 minus $1.25. $6 minus $1.25. This is what, if you missed it, this is what a lot of you forgot to do. You borrow from the 6 and it turns into a 5. That turns into a 10, you borrow there. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 2 is 7. And then you do 5 minus 1 is 4. 4 and 75/100. Any questions? Okay, let's go to the next problem. This is one, these are so easy and you don't know where to put your decimals, kids. 7 times 6 is 42, right? Now, you got to put your decimal point in there, because how many numbers are behind the decimal point in this one, Grace? In number 19, how many numbers live behind the decimal point in the problem? No, just this one. So there's only one number behind the decimal point. The answer is not 42 or 42 hundredths. It's 4 2/10. Do you get that? Count them. In this one, 4 times 8 is 32. But the tricky part here, how many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem? 1, 2, 3. So you have to have 1, 2, 3, and then you put your decimal point in. So what goes in front of the 3? So it's 0.032, or some of you might have had 0.032. Any questions on that? Okay, now let's do 21. Yeah, it was so, you had the numbers right, but your decimal points weren't in the right spot. That was just so sad. 5 times 5 is 25. Put down a 5, carry a 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. And then you could do 5 times 0 and 5 times 0, but you know, they're just zeros. This is where some of you messed up. How many numbers are behind the decimal point in the problem? There's the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 places behind the decimal point. So 1, 2, 3, 4. How many zeros do you have in front of that 7? 3. So in number 21, it's 0.00075 or 0.00075. Why? There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers behind the decimal point. Any questions? When you divide, put your decimal point straight up. All right, there's not one in the divisor, so it goes straight up before you divide. How many 6s are in a 5? None. How many 6s live in a 54? 9. And the answer is 9 hundredths, 0.9. These really are not that hard. You can get them right. Number 23, we have to, oh no, 1/5 can't subtract 4/5. So what must I do in this problem?
You have to rename it.
That is correct. 5 says, I will help you. I will turn into dun, 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 4 5/5. That's still a 5. Now 5/5 combines forces with 1/5, making it the mighty 6/5. Yes. 6/5 minus 4/5 is 2/5, and 4 minus 3 is 1. 1 2/5. Are we feeling mighty here, kids? All right, is that hard? No. You still have your brains turned on? Okay. In number 24, look, I have a decimal in the divisor. I have to move it before I can divide. I have to move it not 1, but 2 places to kick it out of the way. So I have to do 1, 2, and now I put it straight up. Did everybody do that? Not everyone. Now it's a pretty easy problem. How many 5s are in a 0? None. How many 5s are in a 5? 1. Subtract, bring down. How many 5s are in a 0, 3? None. Multiply, subtract, bring down. How many 5s are in a 35? 7. And you are finished. 10 7/10. Now, I had no new 100s. I had a couple of you getting really close. How many of you, if I gave you this one or one similar in another week, you think you could even do better on the next one? Everyone? Good. Remember that next week when you're doing the iLearn, I can do these problems. Just think, what did Mrs. Robertson do when she was doing these problems? Okay?